human self presents to me many challenges that burden me. My heart center shines and calls to me. This is who I choose to be. Sometimes lessons.
Welcome to the Vibrational Alchemy Podcast. This is Penny Fisher, and we are so glad you are joining us for this week's episode. Hey, everybody. Thanks so much for joining us, for being here with us. We are coming into, oh my gosh, episode 11. I can't believe it, but here we are, excited to be with you as always. And actually really super excited about this thread that we started last week when we started talking about finding our way through this human experience with more balance and ease, right? My husband's got a great t-shirt that says "Find Balance." It's one of his favorites, and he gets comments on it every time because isn't that what this is all about, right? Learning how to navigate what life throws at us and not lose our balance. And when we can do that, we move into a place of more ease. And so we're just going to jump in here because I thought I was going to cover more, but this looks like it's going to be a pretty rich topic this week. I want to talk to you about this idea of divine masculine and divine feminine energies. Okay. And so last week we talked about this path of joy. And it's so funny, isn't it, when you start to bring your attention to something, how the universe just brings you more opportunities to kind of dig into it and talk about it and unpack it a little bit. And sure enough, I was talking with a friend just this morning about this idea that it when we commit to following the path that leads us to joy, right? That makes our heart sing, that makes us happy. It doesn't mean that there's not hard work involved. And we were kind of deconstructing that a little bit this morning. And what we realized was that it can be, and I'm air quoting now, hard work. But it's not that no pain, no gain thing that we talked about last week. It's more this idea that if I do this, I get to do that, right? So it doesn't feel hard, right? It doesn't feel overwhelming. And in a lot of places, in a lot of ways, it doesn't even feel like work because, look, we've got the tools to help us deal when it gets overwhelming. And we know now, if you've been with us since the get-go here, we know that we have access to this. I don't even have words to describe the energy, the support, the unconditional love that pours out of the cosmic heart of the omniverse and is available to us through that flow of the energies of the cosmic matrix, right? It's that's overwhelming, but to me at least, but in like a really good, in a really beautiful way. And we also know that even though the work feels hard and it can be a little challenging sometimes, we know that it's bringing us closer to where we want to be. And one of the other tools we have in our back pockets, right, is this permission that we are giving ourselves and this disposition that we're developing through practice, right, to stay in this space of curiosity, to stay in the space of this childlike, um, hey, this is interesting. This feels really hard, or this isn't working out the way that I thought it would. I wonder what that's all about, right? We notice and note, we release attachment to the process. We even release attachment to the outcome because we know. And when I say we know, I mean, we know, like my, my husband's grandmother used to say, we know, like we know the sun's coming up tomorrow, right? That things are unfolding exactly the way that they should. And it was so cool because I actually read something in a book that I have been really working with. It's called The Way of Mastery. We've talked about it before. It's a channeled work. And this particular quote is from page 255 in my edition for all you academia nuts out there. But we're told this, right? They say the very pathway of awakening, and I'm going to parenthetically put in that's the path that we're on, right? It's this journey back to remembering who we really are, that we are the divine. We are not just aspects, more than aspects of the divine. Back to the quote, the very pathway of awakening, regardless of the form it takes, is always a retraining of the mind. It is a decision to choose to discipline the mind in each moment, to teach only love, to hold only loving thoughts, and to recognize that there is no such thing as an idle thought, since each thought or perception held in the mind immediately generates our experiences, right? And that's what we've been talking about, this place where this practice, this kind of resetting where we are to our factory settings, right? Making this our default setting really helps us to continue down this road of awakening to this memory of our true divine selves, right? And I have to just say, weren't we brilliant to incarnate onto this plane at this time? Because there are so many ways to get to where we want to be, right? We have so many paths back to oneness, back to wholeness, back to full alignment with source in whatever way you experience source, right? We have Reiki and Shinjitsu, we've got yoga and Qigong, we can work with crystals, we can work with sound, we've got our guides, we've got gurus, and here's the thing. It doesn't matter what form that path takes, because everything that we do in the service of returning ourselves to a default setting of love leads us back to ourselves. And that's where we want to get to. And so as we talk now about coming into balance so we can navigate with ease, one of the things that really kind of messes us up internally as we're making our way through all these human experiences is this fundamental imbalance that exists within ourselves. And one of the ways to think about this balance or imbalance or coming into balance is to talk about and think about these concepts of divine feminine and divine masculine energies. And I want to be really clear. We all hold within us both divine feminine and divine masculine energies. Every single one of us. This is absolutely 100 gazillion%. It is not about sexual identity. It is not about gender identity. It is not about sexual or gender orientation. It's not that. It's not the way we present ourselves in the world. This is about these energies of what seem to be seemingly opposing forces. And we've talked a lot about opposing forces, right? We've talked about love and fear. We've talked about judgment and compassion. We've talked about light and dark. This is another experience of these seemingly dual forces in ourselves. And I say, and I'm air quoting, seemingly, because over the next few episodes, we're going to look at how it is possible to actually bring these forces into balance within ourselves. And I've been downloading a lot of information about this, so stay with me on this. But I believe that we can reach such a point of balance that the potential exists for these two, again, seemingly opposing forces to fully integrate and merge. So we actually no longer have the need for the duality of them as separate energies, but we're able to, what do I want to say, to access their power and their potential to open ourselves up to the reality of who we are. So that's coming in a couple of episodes. Like I said, the information is still downloading, so stay tuned. Okay, so let's come back to divine feminine and divine masculine energies, vibrations. So I think the easiest way to start is by kind of unpacking them one at a time. And each one has two different, what do I want to call them? Faces, two sides of a coin, right? Both the feminine energy and the masculine energy have the divine aspect, right? Which is the energy of that disposition within ourselves, completely free of fear, 100% grounded in love, right? And then the flip side of that coin is what one of my teachers calls the unconscious masculine, the unconscious feminine. And the first time I heard that, it came from Alana Fairchild, and just talk about an amazing being. I would encourage you to check her out. Uh, she's just I can't say enough amazing things about her. So two sides of the coin for the masculine energies and for the feminine energies, the divine and the unconscious, right? The just as the divine presentation is rooted in love, the unconscious aspect is grounded in fear. And the unconscious aspects of both the masculine and the feminine energies exhibit what do we want to call them? The less stellar qualities of, of these vibrational realities, right? The divine aspects bring forth the vibration of unconditional love. Um, they connect us with the divine beings that we are. They activate within us the blueprint of source and source love that exists within us. Um, and this is where we want to head toward, right? Always. So that's kind of the 10,000-foot view. And I think it'll make a little bit more sense as we start to drill down um, into these different aspects. All right. Okay. So let's start with the feminine. The feminine has gotten, well, and let's talk about the divine feminine, right? She's gotten kind of a bad rap over the years. It's come, in my opinion, from society, from the ways in which religious, political, economic forces have um, decided to judge the um, the energies, the traits. There's the word, the traits of the divine feminine, and you can probably see how easy it was for the unconscious masculine to position the divine feminine as um, you know weak, flighty, because the divine feminine holds the birthing energy, right? She brings forth what is new, what is creative, and she doesn't really vibe with rules and timelines. um, One of my favorite descriptions of her, and this again comes from Alana Fairchild, is this: picture this beautiful being saying, "Oh, I want to make something. I'm going to go for a walk." And she makes her way through this beautiful meadow. And she might say, "Oh, look, there is a beautiful rock formation. I think I'm going to go sit on it. Oh, isn't that? Look, there's a flower. I think I'm going to go pick the flower. Oh, there's breeze in my hair. It makes me feel like dancing." Right. So this is who she is. She knows she wants to create. She's not quite sure even sometimes what it will be, how she's going to go about it, what the resources are. So she wanders and intuitively, powerfully collects what it is that she needs to be able to birth whatever it is that she needs. Um, those of you who may have seen the Harry Potter movies, oh my gosh, what's her name? The one who's always just kind of like Luna, right? Luna is always like, "I don't know, maybe we should do this, maybe we should do that." As the books, if you've read the books or the movies unfold, you find out that she is intuitive, tapped in, brilliant, right? Even though she presents as that uh, kind of Yeah, she's just pure creative energy, right? Um, the divine feminine holds a vision of creation, but it comes from her heart, from her soul, not from some external um, uh, uh, directive, not from a need to conform to what others say she should create, or even what other people tell her she should want, right? She knows how to engage, she knows how to surrender, and she knows how to work with what is, because she is in constant and perfectly harmonious relationship with herself and the universe, right? Pure creative birthing energy. When that energy becomes entangled with and informed by and rooted in fear, then we can meet the unconscious feminine. And she is a whole different ballgame, right? Because she's coming from a place of fear, instead of prancing out into that meadow with just joy and abandon, she pulls back into a protective stance, right? Because she's afraid, she's been attacked, she's been told that she is not good enough, that she's less than, that she needs to be something different. So she pulls back, she becomes defensive, she becomes controlling, she can become oppressive, right? Because she's been told her individualism is not good enough or not acceptable, she might try to stamp out individualism, right? She might try to deny inclusion, because remember, she's a master of relationship, right? She's in relationship with other beings, with the earth, with the animals, and here she's being told no, no, no. So instead, she might try to just shut that all down. She again, from that protective stance, she's got her own opinion, and because she's terrified of being judged or beaten up for that, she holds on to that opinion. Right? She won't step outside of it. She's terrified that she's going to lose control again. And again, as we've said, she's probably developed this stance because she's experienced great pain and trauma. And my opinion is that this has happened over millennia, over multiple lifetimes, as the unconscious masculine has sought to control her, to dominate her, to keep her under his proverbial thumb, right? Quick note about that. Remember, the divine masculine had to have something happen to him to I'm going to just say activate that unconscious aspect, and that probably came from the feminine too. So there's probably a corresponding set of experiences where the unconscious feminine beat up the masculine, and he had to retreat as well. Okay, so this is not a judgment game, this is not a blame game, we're just noticing what exists within us. All right, so let's shift over to the masculine coin, if you will, and let's take a closer look at the divine masculine within us. The divine masculine holds the energies of action. He's the doer, discernment, clarity, compassionate action, right? He knows when to move and he knows when to stay still. It was the Kenny Rogers song, right? You got to know when to hold them, know when to fold them. That's the divine masculine energy. He works in a linear manner as opposed to the divine feminine. What do we want? She can be a mess, right? She can be a mess. And he accepts that about her, right? He completely accepts her in all of her glorious creative chaos. And he holds space for her to do what she needs to do. Doesn't judge it, doesn't try to change it, but he pays attention. And once she's got enough of a direction, enough of the foundation, enough resources to birth that creation, the divine masculine is the one who taps her on the shoulder and says, okay, let's go. Time to move. Right? He's the one who supports her timing. He's the one who helps to activate within her this inner knowing of how to proceed. It's all about action, right? I have another one of my amazing teachers, Brigitte Boyer, uses a great analogy. She says, if you want to buy a new car, you can engage with the divine feminine all you want, right? And in this day and age, you can sit on the couch and do everything that needs to be done, right? You can you can create the car, you can pick the color, you can pick all of the bells and whistles, you can do all of that. You can take care of you can do financing, you can do everything right from the couch. Just play, have fun. But at some point, you have to get off the couch and go outside. You have to sign a tablet or, well, it used to be a piece of paper, right? And accept delivery. You have to take the car, you have to pull it into your driveway. There has to be action. And that's the divine masculine. When those divine masculine energies come from a place of fear, what we see is what we've become accustomed to as, and I'm air quoting here, the stereotypical masculine of the last few centuries, right? This is the unconscious masculine. And when we're looking at this other side of the coin, we are experiencing energies that don't trust the creative chaos of the divine feminine. And so he belittles that energetic. He dismisses her power. He disempowers her. He's aggressive. He leans into that linear predisposition, right? By over intellectualizing. I think we've talked before about the fact that ancient people believed that the heart was the center of human consciousness, where in our society, we believe it's the brain, right? It's all about the intellect. It's all about who's the smartest, who can solve the problems, who can, you know, uh, uh, it's all about the intellect. I'll leave it there. Okay. Um, he feels threatened by all of that. And because his shields are always up, there can be a lack of sensitivity and empathy. It's difficult for him to deeply and authentically connect. Relationships are very different than they are with the divine feminine or even with the divine masculine when he is in that space of loving authenticity, right? In short, he uses his energy to suppress and control the feminine principles because he, again, is coming from a place of fear. And if you think about people that you know, and especially it might be in your day-to-day life, but it can also especially be people in positions of power or who are very visible, famous, right? You could probably name a lot of women who hold unconscious masculine energy. And in their defense, they have had to navigate that or take on those attributes in order to be what the world tells them is, and I'm air quoting again, successful, because that's what the world values, right? But here's the cool thing, because we're talking about balance. And when those two forces are in balance, this is where the magic happens, right? Think about your own life. Are there ever times, well, silly question, but are there ever times when you want to just sit? You want to just be quiet. You don't want to have a to-do list. You don't want to have an agenda. You just want to rest. You just want to let your mind wander, right? And then you want to let it wander some more and then rest some more, right? And our society tends to frown on that. We talked about this, I think, last week, where we talked about being called lazy or not being motivated or all of those things. But here's the really cool thing. When you let yourself live in that space, when you give yourself the freedom to let your mind wander, when you let yourself rest, when you let yourself just even do things that that let your brain disengage, right? Science tells us that the brain is able to access information that you don't even know you have. It can restructure and reshuffle that information, see things from different angles and perspectives, right? Sounds like creative chaos. But I read an article, if you Googled, this is literally what I Googled scientific breakthroughs in the shower. That's what I Googled. And up popped this great article from National Geographic. I'm sure there are more scholarly articles, but they cited some really cool research from scientists that have identified a region of the brain. They call it the default mode network, so the DMN. And this is an area of the brain that connects dozens of brain functions. And what they have found, and this is research that's been going on for over a decade. I think it said 15 years. Don't quote me on that. Check it out. But it's something like that. That when the mind is in, and I think they literally call it wander mode, right? That is when people have the potential to have these breakthroughs and these aha moments. So, I would encourage you to take a look at that article. It was fabulous. And to notice how this is the quintessential divine feminine at work. And she's supported by the divine masculine within you, right? Because you're allowing yourself that time and the space that you need to just to be in wander mode. So the divine feminine says, yeah, I have this problem I can't quite solve. And the divine masculine says, okay, so just do what you got to do. I've got this. And then off you go. You have your ha-ha, you take a walk. My husband will very often do jigsaw puzzles, right? And you decompress. Coloring is another one of my favorite things. Oh gosh, me and a mandala coloring book and gel pens, forget about it. We're good. Um, and I have permission because this is this moment when these two forces are balanced. And when they are balanced, the divine feminine also trusts divine masculine, right? And so when he says, okay, now it's time to go, she knows it's safe to move from wander mode to action. She knows that it's time to make that phone call or sign up for that class or make that appointment to talk to a boss or a colleague or an investor, right? It's time to do what's necessary to see if that idea, that aha spark of potential can be birthed into a reality. Sometimes it can, sometimes not, but this is the time to take action, right? So I just dumped a whole lot of information. I want you to just breathe for a minute. And I want you to start to notice and just think about your life. Where are you out of balance in your own life? And it might surprise you. I just share real quickly from my own life. I have really pretty much my whole life been told that I hold a lot of mothering energy, right? People always come to me with their problems. Strangers at the grocery store tell me their life, unsolicited tell me their life stories. And I'm able to help them and hold space for them. So you get the idea, right? But a number of years ago, I really started working with these two energies. And always we need to know where we are first. And so what I needed to know first was, where am I out of balance? And as I started to really pay attention, I realized that I am or was incredibly skewed toward the unconscious masculine, right? I'm the linear person, the task person, the goal-oriented person. Listen, give me a checklist and a deadline, and I am your girl. And this was reinforced for me in my career because when I did that, I had success. But what was interesting was that alongside of that, I noticed that I've always been a great brainstormer, right? The joke at work has always been that I belong in the think tank because I'll come up with the most amazing ideas, but I am not so good at taking them all the way through. What I've learned to do in my life is be good at taking them through. And I think that um, as I started to notice those places, it became easier for me to set aside the linear goal-oriented person and create time for the brainstorming. And I was very blessed because I had colleagues and cohorts at work that as I started to think about this, it was magical that people would come and hang out in my office and we'd brainstorm about workshops we wanted to present or ideas we had that we wanted to bring forward that would be really good. I'm a retired public educator, things that would be really good for kids, or for families or for our teachers, right? But magically, as I started to lean into this more divine feminine aspect, the opportunities came up. And as I did more of that, it became easier for me to take this all the way through to completion because I was able to trust these two aspects within myself as they came into balance, were able to trust each other. And um listen, I am still 100% a work in progress, but when I look back, it's fascinating that I was skewed toward unconscious masculine, but the divine feminine was knocking at my door. And the more I let the divine feminine rise, the more the unconscious masculine shifted into divine masculine, and I was able to get a lot more done, right? That was a little convoluted, but I hope you kind of see where I'm at. All right. I share all of this with you as an invitation for you to start to pay attention to those masculine and feminine energies that you hold within you. Remember, they are energies, right? Not about identities. But I want you to start to notice how they play out in your life, right? And you can do this in the way that we have been practicing for what, 10 episodes before this. Do it without judgment. Do it um, without uh, uh, either grasping for the way you wish it was or pushing away the way that you notice you are. Just simply notice, be curious. Don't engage with it. Don't create the reality of your identity by saying, oh my gosh, this is who I am. No, no, no. Just notice it, note. And if you are somebody who enjoys paper and pen, if you enjoy a journal, you could start to make lists. You could start to do some prosaic writing, right? You could make a T chart. You could use a Venn diagram, I don't know, any kind of graphic organizer, or you can just start to notice in your head, um, and just start to pay attention. What's at play in your life? Where are you unconscious masculine heavy, unconscious feminine heavy, divine masculine heavy, divine feminine heavy, or short in those areas? Okay. And it's not about changing anything. I don't want you to, this is not about you going out and changing everything. This is very, very simply just noticing where you fall, right? That's all. Just notice. Because when we start to think, oh, we got to change this, that's fear, that's grasping, and we don't want to be there. That's imbalance. Okay. And then you know what comes next. I want you to sit. I want you to breathe in through your nose and just as long to exhale out through your nose. Oxygenate your body so it feels calm, so it knows that it's safe. And I want you, with each breath, to drop yourself into your sacred heart space. I'm going to pause. If you are driving or walking or doing something else that requires your undivided attention, either turn this part off or just let it flow through you, right? Because here's the practice, and we want you to be safe, okay? With each exhale, drop deeper into your sacred heart space, that inner temple that is just yours, and just hang out there, right? And whatever the qualities are that you're noticing that are out of balance, invite them to join you and stay curious, right? We had this experience, I don't know if it was last week or 2 weeks ago. I think it was last week, where we don't know how those are going to present, right? They might present as an image or a color or nothing. It might just be you're setting the intention to bring those into your sacred heart space and breathe. Open that portal in your sacred heart chamber. Allow yourself to enter the flow of the cosmic matrix and rest and just ride that wave of unconditional love right back to the cosmic heart and rest and ask that balance be restored, right? It's always there. We've just gotten a little out of balance. And it is very, very much okay to ask that that process be gentle, be easy, be in a way that's for your highest good. Right? Remember, we chucked all that no pain, no gain stuff out the window last week, right? And find space to allow yourself some grace here, right? You've had a lifetime or maybe many, many lifetimes of conditioning that have reinforced this imbalance. So this work might take time. Just continue it. Keep noticing. Things are going to shift and change for you. They will. The day-to-day little things you'll notice, all of a sudden things are kind of different for you. Right? This is kind of like riding a seesaw. 1 minute, both sides are balanced. The next minute, somebody's up in the air and somebody's on the ground. And then you might come back to balance. You might stay there for a while and then whoop, before you know it, you're out of balance again. It's okay because you always have the potential to come back into balance, right? Um, uh, I love any of you Ted Lasso fans out there, right? We say a work in progress. He says, I'm a work in prog mess. I'm a work in prog mess. And that's where we're at. And it's okay. It's the human experience. Keep loving yourself. Tom Kenyon says all the time, simply by bringing your attention to something, you change your relationship with it. And that's what we're doing. We're bringing our attention to the imbalance so that our relationship with it can be changed, so that we can bring these forces back into the vibration of their origin, right? Of unconditional love. We hold them in the space of the cosmic heart, in the flow of the cosmic matrix, so that they can be transformed and transmuted back into what they always were, what they are, what they always will be. Love, it's their origin story, right? That's where we're taking them. And you know this if you've been doing this work for the last, month and a half, well, couple of months, 2.5 months now, right? You know that as you do this work, you will be more and more able to remember who you truly are. You are a divine and perfect being of love and light. It's how Source sees you, because that's your reality. And it is my wish, my sincere and deep wish, that you see yourself in the same way. Every morning when you look in the mirror, say to yourself, I am divine. I am love. I am light. I am so grateful to each of you for joining me. I am Penny Starhart, and this has been the Vibrational Alchemy Podcast. Until we're together again next week, remember that you are love and you are loved.
This is who I choose.